tout, il vient mettre à l'extérieur, Vincent, il mettait division entre Haïtiens et Dominicains. Moun n'a pas mourir avec même une balle qui tire. Mort assassinat ratio, piqueur avec poignard, puis piqueur avec baïonnette. Nous prenons petit monde à terre, nous voyons tout le monde dans l'air, il n'y a pas de baïonnette pour nous. Est-ce que vous entendez? Massacre, c'est ça. On va contrôler, on va Haïtien ne va pas contrôler ça de passer là.
Allô, oui, bonsoir. I'm the Mademoiselle in Sassy Deuxième Chanel. And aujourd'hui, we are going to be talking about the Parsley Massacre and Haiti's relationship with the Dominican Republic. This is my most highly requested video ever since I started this channel. So I was like, you know what? It's almost been a year since I started this channel. Oh my goodness. I know. Time definitely does fly. So I was like, you know what? We should definitely do this video now. Why not? Comment down below. What is the reason that you believe Dominicans and Haitians don't get along? I just have to let you guys know right now, I will not be tolerating any Dominican or Haitian bashing in this video. I grew up with Dominicans. I have a lot of Dominican friends. I have family that lives in the Dominican Republic. And to be honest, I never knew there was a legit issue until I became an adult. Like where I come from, Haitians and Dominicans get along very well. I've dated Dominican men. Like I love my Dominicans. So when I looked into this, I have to say I was very disheartened. I was very sad and I even cried because that's how sad this was. This video highlights a lot of colorism, racism, and just blatant racial intolerance and discriminatory behavior. This whole entire story is just a hot ass mess. If you're not into like really sad things or stories of legit genocide, then this video is clearly not for you. So before I get into the massacre itself, I have to give you guys a quick synopsis and history brief for the simple fact that A, it's important to know, to understand what's going on. B, it's important to know just because if you're Haitian or Dominican, you need to understand the history. And C, I was going to make this a whole separate part, like a whole nother video, but I realized it's actually not that long of a history. But I'm going to give you guys both sides of the coin because depending on if you ask a Dominican or a Haitian, you're going to hear all types of shit, okay? So let's just start off from Haiti's revolution. So we already know 1804, Haiti got its independence. But the other side of the island, which is now Dominican Republic, back then was named Santo Domingo and it was being occupied by Spain. So later on in 1821, they fought off the Spaniards and won their island back. This time, they named themselves Spanish Haiti. And not too long after that, President of Haiti at the time, Jean Boyer, literally a few months later, went to occupy the Dominican Republic. Now, if you hear this from a Dominican, you would hear, they would say that, you know, the Haitians were trying to exercise their power and essentially enslave the Dominicans. But if you ask a Haitian, they will say that they were there specifically to occupy, to ensure that no Spaniards or French or any other type of people would come and enslave the people or take over the land, and they wouldn't have a whole repeat of what happened. Jean Boyer's plan was essentially to eradicate slavery. They wanted to get rid of slavery on the islands completely. Fast forward to like maybe 20 some years later, the Dominican Republic gained its independence back from Haiti, and this is when they named themselves the Dominican Republic. And this was in about 1844. But I mean, Haiti still occupied from time to time. And ironically enough, after this, they still let Spain reoccupy their side of the island, which honestly, I just don't understand it. And to be completely honest with you, just thinking about it now and everything that I know, I feel like it's literally symbolic of their constant urge to try to be, what's the word? White in a sense, or to whitewash their culture. I'm just saying. But it also could have been because they saw that the Spaniards actually took care of their island, right? So here's something that you guys need to understand that a lot of people just don't think about. People like to come at Haiti for being poor and this and that, but it all starts off in colonization, right? So France was occupying Haiti, but France did not treat Haiti like a country, okay? Which clearly is not hard to, think about, right? But no, I mean as in they treated Haiti as like just a form of commerce. Like they didn't see it as like a place for people to visit or a place for them to live or vacation. They saw it as, we gonna make money from this place. That's all we give a fuck about. That's why there were so many slaves there. That's why the land looks the way it is. That's why shit is still fucked up to this day, because they literally sat there and just used it to grow crops and to sell crops. They didn't take care of the land. They sat there and ruined a lot of Haiti's terrain by continuously harvesting sugar crops, because back then, if you guys do not know, that's what Haiti was really known for. It's sugar. So it's like, eventually now everything is just like kind of dead over there. Like the trees, like even on the border of the Dominican Republic, you could see like the trees are like all fucked up on Haiti side, and on Dominican side it's like all green. And that's because like when the Spaniards or whoever else occupied the Dominican Republic, they actually cared to take care of the island. Now also remember that these were slaves mostly being brought back from Africa to Hispaniola, Haiti, and Dominican Republic. However, many of them resided in Haiti because that's what they were there for. They were there for, the agriculture side of it. While on the Dominican side, there were slaves, but the French and the Spaniards and whoever else occupied that part of the island was sure to actually keep it nice. You feel me? Like they didn't go so hard with the agriculture, and they even actually assimilated into their culture, intermingling with the slaves and the local natives on the island. They actually respected their rules, they respected their terrain, which is completely different to what happened with the French. So right then and there, you can see that there's a whole problem right there in itself. That's something that people need to remember. So we have a country that is completely sucked up of all its resources, and one whose resources have been preserved at some point. But I don't feel like Haitians ever had any animosity for that, because Haitians are very like, it is what it is type of people. So not too long after all of that nonsense of basically Spain reoccupying, they eventually left, and there was a whole bunch of turmoil there because the Dominican Republic basically asked Haiti to help get them out of their country because they weren't happy with them either. So I guess after that point they decided to stay independent because shit wasn't working out for them. Now, if you hear Dominican tell their story, they'll basically say that the Haitians enslaved the Dominican Republic. They were free. They freed themselves. They overcame all this adversity. If you hear from a Haitian, they'll basically tell you that they helped and they had no problem helping, and they don't understand what the problem the Dominican Republic has with them. Like, nonetheless, it is believed that there was some lingering resentment there from all of this back and forth and tug of war regarding the island. So now that you know that much, we can kind of get into what's going on now. So modern day Haiti at the border with Dominican Republic looks very normal because it is a very, very prominent base for a lot of Haitians. There's a lot of selling going on over there. People cross this border very frequently. There's not much border patrol. I feel like there is now, but not really. It's not like on some Donald Trump build a wall type shit, you feel me? Like, it's very free. And the thing that really kind of separates the border is a river. And it's a pretty shallow river. You can walk right across it. And day in and day out, Haitians go over there. Dominicans come over there. So it's something that if you look at it, you would never really know that there's a dark history there. On the surface, it looks pretty amicable because at one point it was more amicable than it is today. Haitians and Dominicans would always and still do have kids together. They're able to sell together. They're able to coexist without there being much problems. But see, again, like I said, this is surface level. It's actually now recently become possible for people from Haiti and Dominican Republic to send letters back and forth from one another. Before, when one would send a letter to the other, the mail would be rerouted to Miami and redirected to wherever it was going. which is ridiculous. That's how petty all of this is. Like, you might as well put an ocean between these two, separate the island, I don't know. Because it's like, surface level, it looks fine, but when you really think of what's really going on and all of the pain, the hurt, the misunderstanding, the embedded self-hatred, the racism, it's just like really sad to think about. As we know from just watching the news, as we know from many anti-Black Dominicans, there is some lingering hatred, especially from Dominicans to Haitians. There have been reports of Haitians being forced to stand for hours waiting to sell in the Dominican markets. There's been stories of them being hit at the border or being sent back to Haiti for no reason. So clearly we know there's an issue there. So now we have the handy dandy United States. In 1915, they began to occupy Haiti. And in 1924, they occupied the Dominican Republic. Now, you would think that they were there to help the situation. No, of course not. They were there for their own personal gain. This was around one of the world wars, and they basically wanted to make sure that Germany wasn't trying to occupy Haiti in order to hide or plan an attack on the U.S. So they weren't there to help the situation. In fact, they actually made everything work. At the same time, I guess they kind of offered a solution, but a solution that kind of led to everything that we're going to talk about today. The United States saw how lucrative sugar business was in Haiti and DR. They saw how lucrative the sugar trade and the sugar growing situation was in Haiti. However, Haiti, like I said, their land was like really bad. So they basically offered to sponsor a lot of agriculture in Dominican Republic, offering jobs to Haitians that wanted jobs to come work at the border and harvest sugar. Now, keep this in mind because it's very important for the rest of this video. They saw how easy it was for Haitians and Dominicans to literally get into one another's countries. Like literally, it was just like a walk. Like literally, one step you're in Dominican Republic, next step you're in Haiti. So they literally took advantage of this and they were like, you know what? Since we want hand in this sugar trade, you guys need jobs, you guys need money, you know, why don't we just merge this all together and have the Haitians come work here? Everyone is happy, everyone gets a cut, everyone gets to feed their family, bada boom, bada bang. It's also important to note that the border of Haiti and Dominican Republic was not officially drawn until about like 1930. You can't even tell a Dominican from a Haitian. A lot of people like to think that all Dominicans are light-skinned and No. There's a lot of Dominicans that you would think are straight up black, just like there's a lot of Haitians you would think were straight up white. So it's like Haiti and Dominican Republic share a lot of similarities. They share a lot of the same culture, very much so. A lot of the same languages. A lot of Haitians speak Spanish. A lot of Dominicans speak Creole. Like, it's just really messed up how we can't seem to really get along. So, of course, naturally, there became a mass migration from Haiti to the Dominican Republic. And this is when tension really arose and sets the stage for the 1937 Parsley Massacre. On October 2nd, 1937, then dictator Rafael Trujillo, I hope I'm saying that right. I think I said that right. Trujillo, I think I said that right. We're just gonna call him Rafael because you know I can't say nothing right, okay? Ordered the massacre of over 30,000 Haitians. Now I have to let you guys know that this is very questionable as to what the real amount was. The lowest number I've seen was about 12,000, highest about 30,000. Whether it is 12 or 30, that's a lot of people. Anyone who was black was killed on the islands, particularly those living on the border. And as you can imagine, a lot of Dominicans were also killed because there's a lot of black Dominicans who are not of Haitian descent at all. So this was a very tragic occurrence, and what makes it worse is this was not like a 1 hour or 1 day type of thing. These killings stretched out to about 5 to 6 days. All the bodies were thrown in that river that I was talking about earlier, and to this day there's been so many bodies that have just never been found. So again, that is another reason why it is impossible to determine how many people actually died. Also, the Dominican Republic took no time saying that they had absolutely nothing to do with this. They also took so much time saying that it was vigilantes, okay? They blamed their own people. Can you believe it? They basically was like, nope, wasn't us. It was the Dominican people. We don't have nothing to do with it. But literally, it was very, very clear to tell that Raphael did not really have a great rapport with Haitians or with his black side. Yes, he was a quarter black, okay? Nonetheless, your grandmother black, you're black, I don't care. Like, well, he's not black. You get the point. Like, you have black in you, so I don't understand the hatred. Crazy thing about this is you would think that, okay, since the government ordered this and, you know, it was the Dominican military, that, you know, they just shot people up and kept it pushing. No. They cut these people up with machetes to the point where Dominicans know this as el corte, which means the cutting. They literally were going around slaying Haitian people, slaying anyone that looked like they might have been Haitian just because they were Haitian. Now you guys are probably wondering, well, I mean, it's hard to tell if someone is really Haitian or really Dominican. You're absolutely right. It is hard to tell because virtually you wouldn't be able to tell unless the person really told you in a lot of cases. Like a lot of cases, there's a lot of Haitians that are white. There's a lot of Dominicans that are black. So it's like, how would they tell? Well, this is why this is called the Parsley Massacre. In order for them to figure out who was of Haitian descent and who was of Dominican descent, they held up a sprig of parsley. And they basically would ask whoever it was that they were speaking to, you know, identify it. The way people pronounce parsley is different in the Dominican Republic and in Haiti. If you speak Spanish, it would probably be perejil. In Creole, it would be perejil. And in Spanish, it would be perejil. I would clearly get killed on the border because I clearly can't say it. Basically, if you could not say it with a rolled R, they would know automatically that you were Haitian. But at the same time, especially if you're a Haitian living in the Dominican Republic and you know Spanish, you can clearly speak Spanish. So this basis is ridiculous. With a lot of historians actually saying that this was completely either fabricated or over-exaggerated. But I mean, I don't know. Like, it's called the Parsley Massacre for a reason. Not only that, it's like, it's not far-fetched, especially for all of the things that we know have happened back in Haiti and other countries in regards to racial intolerance. It's like, it's not far-fetched, to be quite honest with you. But what we do know is they were out here slaying people with machetes, and it was just really gruesome. There were babies thrown in the air only to be caught by swords. I'm not joking. This is serious. This is something that really happened. There were people that actually survived these attacks coming back with one hand, one arm, trying to flee to Haiti. It was just so sad. And the Dominican Republic did everything they could to act like they had nothing to do with it and to cover up that this was even going on. So that's why a lot of you probably didn't even hear about it. And if you did, you don't know much about it, or you just genuinely forgot. There have been so many reports of Dominicans actually helping Haitians throughout all of this, which is great. So shout out to all the Dominicans that definitely helped Haiti, you know, tried to hide them during the massacre or have helped them through their immigration issues. You are greatly appreciated. Now, this was said to take place specifically because there were numerous reports coming into the government about Haitian people allegedly stealing cattle and crops from, you know, native Dominican farmers. Before we get into that, let's talk about Trujillo, or you know what, I can't say his name. Let's talk about Raphael. So he was a former sugarcane guard and then later on joined the Dominican National Guard. He was trained by American Marines because during this time, this is when they were occupying the Dominican Republic. And he actually rose to the ranks very quickly and became the head of armed forces when the United States left their occupancy in the Dominican Republic. Shortly after he began his 30-year dictatorship after a alleged rigged election, and it was the perfect storm for him. The previous president at the time was really old, so it's like it really set the stage for him to take over. And woo, child, I thought Haiti's government and officials and dictators and stuff was crazy. Oh, Raphael, my God, these people might as well have like not even had two different islands. Like this whole island should have just been one big island, and like just been ran as such. Okay, the only difference between the Dominican Republic and Haiti is that Dominican Republic has a lot less corruption and is a lot more organized. But this is because of what the Spaniards put in place. Haiti, on the other hand, didn't really have that. They didn't really care for Haiti in that sense. They just sat there and used it as, farmland, pretty much. It's the only real difference. But I feel like they could have restored some order in Haiti, and Haiti could have gave them a backbone. It would have been a great, even exchange. Raphael was not really loved, but he wasn't really liked. People who liked him were more so people who were anti-black or like very, very pro-Dominicanization, which is getting rid of black people, because he was very, very vocal about his disdain for the Haitian people, because for whatever reason, and this still happens, Haiti's always been the scapegoat for every bad thing that goes on that island. The man was self-hating, literally seen wearing like white face makeup to cover any type of skin tint that he may have had from his Haitian grandmother. I'm not even joking. Yes, he would wear like white face type of makeup. And in one of his speeches, if you don't believe he's anti-black, in one of his speeches, he had the nerve to say, and I quote, "For some months, I have traveled and traversed the border in every sense of the word. I've seen, investigated, and inquired about the needs of the population. To the Dominicans who are complaining of the depredations by Haitians living among them, thefts of cattle, provisions, fruits, etc., and were thus prevented from enjoying in peace the products of their labor. I have responded, I will fix this. And we have already begun to remedy the situation. 300 Haitians are now dead in the city of Banica. This remedy will continue." Do I need to say anything more? This man is crazy, okay? Crazy. Now, of course, this fueled the hatred for the Haitians. And to be honest, like, that's the thing. That's why I don't really blame Dominicans too much for a lot of their self-hatred, because their government has always been racist and saying shit like this out in the open and out in the public. In fact, Raphael was out here accepting gifts from Adolf Hitler during that whole Holocaust. It's obvious here what was going on. He really wanted to whitewash the Dominican Republic. He wanted it to be pure. He wanted it to not be of black people. It is clear that he had a huge obsession with race and class. Yeah, a lot of people actually snubbed him because he wasn't anything really special. So I feel like he was really trying to prove himself, essentially. He tried his hardest to be grandiose. Like, it's actually pretty pathetic to think about all the crap he did. He was out here naming mountains after himself, putting up statues. Like, he was so full of himself. Honestly, very narcissistic. Very. Even sociopathic at this point. Like, he was just doing too much. So yeah, even though he did all of this nonsense, people really started to not like him, because by 1937, the Dominican Republic was broke as shit, okay? People were going hungry, and people were just mad and tired, and they were fed up, and of course the complaints started pouring in. People started getting genuinely upset because they were like, what are you doing? You sitting here naming mountains after yourself, of course, wasting money, flaunting it and doing all this bullshit, but you ain't doing nothing for us. And his response to this was, hey, we can't feed you and feed these niggas at the border. We can't take care of y'all and be responsible for them at the same time. And that is what really was stirring the pot. Instead of acknowledging his weakness as a leader, okay, instead of recognizing that he was just a shit-ass dictator slash president slash whatever you want to call him, he basically blamed it on the Haitians and used Haitians as a scapegoat. And it was smart, horrible, but smart on his part, only because, yeah, the Haitians were at the border. Yeah, there were reports of Haitians stealing cattle and all of this extra shit. And most importantly, they were niggas. Okay, let's not forget, this is the 1930s. Segregation in the United States is very, very prevalent. People are very upset with Haiti for revolting and gaining their independence. And honestly, by all accounts, every country at the time made Haiti pay for it by not aligning with them, by sabotaging them, by stealing their resources. Like, Haiti was and is still being punished for being the first black independent country. And anyone who tells you different is bullshitting. That is one of the reasons Haiti is poor. That is one of the reasons why Haiti has so much debt. That is one of the reasons why Haiti will probably never change. Like, there's just so much corruption and so much racial intolerance for them back then that wasn't able to sustain the country financially, emotionally, physically, anything. Like, it's just really sad to think about. So it wasn't hard for, you know, him to put the Dominicans against the Haitians. The Parsley Massacre happened and not many people talked about it. But, you know, he knew what he was doing, because remember how I told you guys that America had a lot of Haitians working at the border at their sugar plantations? Oh, none of those Haitians were touched. Not one bit, not their families, nothing. Everyone that worked in those fields was safe, because he knew that he did not want to destroy any allies with the United States, and he didn't want further problems. But regardless of the fact, people were very upset with him all around the world. People condemned him. They were just like, nigga, like, that's fucked up. Like, people really condemned him for that. And it got to a point where the United States, of course, you know, they never failed to get involved in shit that has nothing to do with them and is none of their business. The only time they interfere with things is when it is in their interest. So, yeah, they basically ordered the Dominican Republic government at the time to basically give reparations to the families and Haiti itself for what they've done. They were only ordered to pay $500,000, which is fucking nothing, honestly. But it doesn't matter, because they never got that money anyway. This money was never seen by anyone. And anyone that did receive any type of money, it was like a very, very minuscule amount. Like I said, he denied it. And then he went on to try to further Dominicanize the land, trying to welcome refugees to Dominican Republic from the whole Holocaust situation. He was eager to accept them, okay? He was so eager. He was like, yeah, like, let's get them in here, you know, hoping that they would intermingle and that the Dominican population would, I guess, be more white. But that shit backfired really quick. Even though they awarded a lot of people citizenship, a lot of these people ended up leaving the Dominican Republic shortly after, because, like I said, they weren't in a good space at all. The whole massacre did not stop the Dominican Republic from being poor and being hungry. Like, this did not solve shit. Like, killing all the Haitians didn't put more food in nobody's belly. So a lot of people ended up leaving anyway, and shit just went left from there. He ended up being assassinated anyhow. He had numerous presidents and dictators after that, which also pushed this whole anti-Haiti, anti-black rhetoric. Yeah, that's why nothing really happened. People don't care about niggas, and people just simply didn't hear about it because they swept everything under the rug like it didn't happen. In fact, they actually tried to rewrite this entire situation and try to make it seem like it never happened in history books and all of that. It's funny because it is taught in Dominican schools from what I know, but there's no commemoration of this from what I understand. I never seen it, never heard about it or anything until I looked it up, until people told me. There is nothing to commemorate these victims that died on that border. And Dominicans, a lot of Dominicans try to lie and act like it did not happen. Like, a lot of them try to act like, you know, oh no, this was because the Haitians were this, that, but they're, and it's just really sad. This is what his protege wrote. Okay, this is from Joaquin Balaguer. I can't say none of these names. And he wrote that the massacre was the crystallization in the heart of our country of a sentiment of protest and defense against our centuries of Haitian depredations. Trujillo, before he died, actually went on to make him another puppet president in the 1960s. He even repeated in the pledge that he wanted to, and I quote, defend the country from the Haitian hordes. Like, this is just a hot-ass mess. Like, it's just so much evidence at this point. It's like, do I even need the bother? Fast forward, there have been lots of efforts made to, like, reconcile, you know. At one point, the president slept at the palace not too long ago, which was, like, the first time since the massacre. And before the massacre, what's really messed up about this is Raphael really, like, sat there and slept in the palace, was having a grand old time. Meanwhile, he was plotting this bullshit. And what's really fucked up about this is it's actually believed that one of the reasons that the massacre happened is because Haiti was allegedly, we can't really confirm this, allegedly helping refugees overthrow his government. Yes, so they were saying that Haiti was like, you know, welcoming people that were against him, you know, welcoming refugees and helping them plot his, you know, demise in a sense. But I don't really see much proof of this, but, you know, it is believed that that's what Raphael thought, and that's really why he wanted to massacre all these Haitians, to A, send a message, and B, basically, you know, just be an asshole. It's like, don't fuck with me type shit. They tried to get together to battle the drug trafficking issues on the island, and the Dominicans took no time trying to blame Haiti for the drugs coming into the country. They tried to collaborate on tourism and try to do like a thing where, you know, both countries would be involved with the tourism to both countries. However, Dominican Republic did not want to be involved, allegedly due to their reputation being tainted from being affiliated with Haiti, especially since, you know, the Dominicans are white and light and the Haitians are niggers. So we already know how that goes. But I mean, no, it's baby steps. Now you can send letters directly from each island, and the presidents currently do meet to discuss things and, you know, ways to improve the island. But what's really sad about this is Haitians do continue to be discriminated against in the Dominican Republic by being chastised, being humiliated, being disrespected, and they continue to go back. And that's just something I can't. When it comes to Haitians, like, I can't stand how somewhat a lot of Haitian people are. Like, it's always really bothered me. But I mean, I do understand that they have no choice. They still have to go over there to sell, so them still live there. I get it. But we need to focus on making Haiti great. Like, we need to focus on making our own land good in order for us to reap the benefits of it, and for our children to reap the benefits of it, and for our ancestors to be happy at what we've done. I feel like Haiti has relied way too much on everyone, which is not too much of their fault, because I mean, the way they were set up to fail, a lot of people owe them a lot of shit. But at the same time, it's like, what has that done for this past, 500 years? How long have they been? That's a lot of, I can't count, 1804 to 2020. That's a long time. Like, at this point, it's time for us to do something different, because whatever we've been doing is not working. The dictators didn't work. The presidents didn't work. Relying on other people didn't work. Military rule didn't work. My coup didn't work. So let's be real. Like, we need to get it together. So comment down below what you think Haiti can do in order to, you know, restore order and make Haiti what it should be. Also, I have to add that there are not many people that are still alive from that whole massacre situation. Like I said, this was 1937. Anyone who has survived the Parsley Massacre, pretty old at this point, so it's kind of hard to find any stories or recounts. So if you have like a grandmother or a grandfather, try to ask them if they know anything about it, especially if they live in the Dominican Republic or live at the border of the Dominican Republic, because it's very interesting to hear some of their stories, and it's just really sad that a lot of them had to live through that and see what was going on around them, only to see that people on the outside didn't really care, or that everything was just being swept under the rug. So I really feel like it is important to encourage these people to talk about their stories, even if it's not like on a national platform, because I always believe talking is very therapeutic, and I always believe that people need to get their shit out. And in this case, since people want to rewrite history and act like nothing happened, it's very important for them to speak their truth and at least somehow get it documented, in a sense, even if it's just a piece of paper, just to tell people what truly happened and give some essence of the truth of what the Dominicans have done to the Haitians. So yeah, with that being said, I do not hate Dominicans. I do feel a little iffy about them now, ever since I saw what I saw, but I'm not about to, you know, blame everyone for, you know, everything that has gone on. Now, with that being said, please do not discredit any of the Dominicans that actually did help Haitians try to hide and risk their own lives and were killed trying to save the lives of their Haitian neighbors, their Haitian friends, or family. Please do not discredit that. That's very, very important, and I have to say that because I know this like all sounds bad, because it really is, but there were a lot of people that actually did try to help in this situation. But I mean, if we got Dominican military versus civilians, yeah, just a tad bit off there. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, and let me know what you think about this video down in the comment section below. With that being said, I'm gonna see y'all next time.